Well, a very good afternoon, and the players are out on the pitch. Pakistan down the steps early, doing a number of warm-up exercises. It's been a testing morning for them, although they've had some overhead clouds and conditions, decent conditions in terms of swing and movement. It's been a particularly windy morning, very testing in the field. I remember Andy Flower always talking about out in the field, it's kind of how well you do is like a barometer of where you're at as a side. And there's no more testing a morning for a fielding team and a bowling team to bowl in sort of the strength of winds that we've had this morning. But they will be reasonably pleased, having got picked up 2 wickets from England. And it looks as though, Dan, that Abbas is going to start from the press box end.
That's right, interesting, isn't it? Switch of ends. He had the wind with him before from the Rod Bransgrove Pavilion end, and he's now going to be bowling into the wind. I wonder if that means that Shaheen Afridi will get the wind at the far end. We'll see. First ball after lunch coming up. Mohammad Abbas in to Joe Root, who advances down the wicket and pushes that nicely off the back foot, but through the offside. He's going to pick up a couple of runs. There may even be a third here. They do turn for a third. They get it comfortably. Say off the back foot. It was a back foot punch, but he was coming forward towards the ball. It's this method that England's batsmen have been using quite a bit against Mohammad Abbas, is to advance down the wicket, and with that, Root picks up 3 more. England move to 94 for 2 after, well, a session of cricket that Andy Zaltzman described as perfect. He said 91 for 2 at lunch on the first day, and that is perfection apparently. I think I know what he means. Both openers out. Mohammad Abbas in to Zach Crawley, who had a terrific first session, picked up his 50 the last over before lunch, defends his first ball into the offside square of the wicket to point, and there's no run.
What a lovely balance between bat and ball, didn't it? Exemplified by Yasir Shah's spell. None for 21 from his first 4 overs, 1 for 7 from his next 5. That sort of told the story of the session, really.
Yeah, I know you liked it a lot. I like the fact there were no extras. No extras before lunch on the first day of a test match, Andy Zaltzman. How many times has that happened? They need to be like that. Mohammad Abbas with 2 slips of gully, 3 in the ring on the offside is in, and Crawley defends late. A foolish ball on off stump, just out to point, and there's no run. You're impressed with Zach Crawley in that first session, Mark Ramprakash?
Absolutely. How can you not be? We saw him score a very enterprising 50 on the last day of the previous test match, and first ball he came in, clipped a full in-swing delivery through square leg and hasn't looked back. He's looked pretty imposing at the crease, I must say. Whether it's against the pace, you know, he had a great pull shot off the pace of Naseem, but also dispatched Yasir Shah through extra cover with good footwork. So he's looked the complete package.
Abbas is in to him, and he lets this go by outside the off stump. Goes through low to the keeper, Mohammad Rizwan. There's no run. His rise is an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, he's a very young man, 22. He's got his 3rd 50 in Test cricket already. His first class average isn't particularly high, but he's not played an awful lot of cricket. 4. He's got 4 50s in Test cricket, says Andy, which you were telling me over lunch puts him in quite a rare bracket of all-time great for England. Mohammad Abbas is in to Crawley, who again lets this go through to the keeper, and then the keeper, Mohammad Rizwan, does a bit of a kind of Saturday second 11 league cricket underarm throw at the stumps, and this is because Crawley is out of his ground. Crawley, Root, Sibley, everybody who has been batting against Mohammad Abbas has looked to get out of their crease to try to force Mohammad Abbas's length back a little bit as well, I should think, so that he doesn't attack the stumps quite so effectively as he does. Well, does that mean that Mohammad Rizwan might stand up, I wonder, at some point? He has done before. Mohammad Abbas in, forward in watchful and perfect defence. His Crawley pushes it into the covers, where it's fielded by Yasir Shah. End of the first over after lunch. England 94 for 2. Crawley 53. Root 13. But yes, his rise feels to me like it's one of those sort of... We can pore over stats a lot, but he's been sort of picked on visuals, hasn't he? People have seen how he plays and have said he's a proper player, I suppose, in the vernacular.
Well, yes, I suppose perhaps a little bit like Marcus Trescothick. You look at the way he plays and you feel he can succeed at the higher level. I first saw him when he was about 17 or 18. I took a trip down to have a look at the Kent Academy, and he was batting down there against some spinners, and I thought he moved really well for quite a tall, at that time, gangly young man. English players, by and large, we don't face much spin, and so it sort of caught the eye the way he was able to get down the wicket and get on the back foot. So he wasn't at that time in the England under-19s, so that just gives food for thought for lots of young players.
Nazim Shah's first ball after lunch is cut by Root to backward point. There's no run, so it's going to be Nazim Shah from the pavilion end with the wind. 87 miles an hour, that first ball.
I think it gives them a good indication, actually, when I think back, actually. It's only 3 or 4 years ago. How things can move quickly for a young player. That sometimes they don't necessarily stand out, and he wouldn't have been the standout player in his age group, perhaps. But, once they get the bit between their teeth, if they've got the right work ethic, they can achieve things very quickly.
And he comes once more, Nazim, to Root with 2 slips in. Oh, and he wafts at that outside the off stump. There's a half appeal for perhaps a little under edge. Azhar Ali's hand is still in the air, and now he's taking his hands to his head and he's wondering. Much like we had an incident like this actually in the previous Test match when the one before last, when Joe Root didn't refer in the end, when he was the only slip that went up. And Snicko showed that there was actually a tiny movement. I wonder. I thought I heard something ever so slightly, but I don't think it was bat on ball. They haven't referred it. He's miles away from it, actually, absolutely miles away. There was a little noise of something, might have been foot scraping on ground, perhaps. Nazim comes bustling in once more to Root, and Root just leaves this alone outside the off stump, saying to himself, "Stop wafting."
I was just going to say, actually, that the replay of that shot, it was a loose shot from Joe Root, a player of his class and experience, just after lunch. And in fact, just before lunch, he had a couple of very iffy cut shots against Yasser Shah, ball not bouncing particularly high and a bit too close to him. I just feel that I've watched him back with a lot of concentration and good temperament in New Zealand to get a double 100. He hasn't quite got his into his rhythm yet.
Shah in, and he raced for this and gets a thick outside edge. It was more of a guide down to third man for 4. It wasn't the perfect shot, didn't go perhaps exactly where he intended, but he did manage to get it down to the boundary at the very least. There's a huge quantity of leaves and now bags and bits of rubbish come flying across the ground, not in quite a spectacular fashion as happened last year at Old Trafford, because there was a crowd in then, and it looked like the entire contents of a reasonable sized off licence and tobacconist and newsagent had been emptied onto the ground as huge numbers of crisp packets wafting across. But this is a more foliage related, leaves all over the place. Wind dies down a touch as Shah is in, and Root just works this full ball up to mid-on. There's no run. With that 4, Root moved to 17. England 98 for 2 as the wind picks up again. But you're right about that cut shot, aren't you? At Old Trafford, Yasser Shah, wasn't he caught cutting one that was way too full and way too close to him in the first innings, I think, at a crucial moment? Yeah,
it's just not quite showing enough due care and attention really early on in his innings. He's such a talented player, and he's such an England great really, despite the fact that he's got a lot of his career left.
Here's Shah, and Root, again he's beaten. That one kept a little bit low, wasn't that full, and he just sort of went almost under his bat. Root in that over just a couple of times, disconcerted. I don't know whether it's partly the wind or partly trying to get his concentration back after lunch. Actually went just past his outside edge, went through on the bounce to the keeper, end of the over, which could have seen the back of Root. He survived, however. And England in 98 for 3 with Root on 17. A wry look from Nazim Shah. For 2, did I say 3? So I kind of imagined that Root was out. Start of a new over. Mohamed Abbas into Crawley, who's beaten by a beauty on the outside edge that flies into the gloves the keeper. The contrast there, you had Nazim Shah bowling at 86 miles an hour with the wind, and the ball went through on the bounce to the keeper. And Mohamed Abbas is sort of seen as a bit of a dobber. That goes through at waist height and lifts into the wind. I can't make any sense of that.
No, it's just on Joe Root. For batsmen starting their innings, I mean, his great strength when he's playing really well is that he's very busy. He likes to score. He's good running between the wickets. But I think it's just he's not had that much time at the crease.
Abbas into Crawley, who's turned round a touch by that foolish ball. Looked to work it onto the onside. Gets a thick leading edge into the offside. It rolls out into the covers. Yazir Shah fields. There's no run.
And I think so often he wants to take the attack to the bowlers, which is absolutely the right mindset, and it's playing to his strengths. But I just sense sometimes when he hasn't quite got his rhythm, is he prepared to say, okay, I might just hold back on that, give myself a chance, it's just after lunch, let me get myself in again. And it's a tricky balance, actually. But on a good wicket, surely a player of his ability should be eyeing up a big score here, really.
Mohamed Abbas in, and Crawley defends late and well and back up the wicket to the bowler off the front foot, and there is no run. Is that partly because, in Root's career, when you think about Root and his rhythm, there seems to be this need for him to keep turning over strike. He has that release shot that takes the ball down through sort of backward point, and always on the lookout to get the scoreboard ticking over. Is there sort of sense that maybe he's feeling a bit frustrated trying to find that rhythm?
Yeah, I guess it's just that balance. Sometimes you go, when you're in rhythm, everything comes so easy, and he is very proactive.
Abbas in again, left alone by Crawley, and he makes sure that he gets his bat back in his ground, because a couple of times now Mohammad Rizwan has underarmed the ball at stumps. He didn't on that occasion.
I think any player, they have that balance to find when they're starting their innings of having a look, playing themselves in. Joe Root here on what looks to be a very good batting pitch. England really must make a good first innings score here, because you'd think that the pitch would wear, perhaps get a bit lower, certainly start to turn more as the game goes on. So he's got to make the most of this opportunity.
Crawley lets this next delivery go by, closer to his off stump on this occasion, and full, but there's no run. 98 for 2 England. Crawley still on 53, still yet to add to his lunchtime total. There's a bit of voodoo about pitches and about the preparation of them, and when they're not as well prepared, not had as much time to prepare, so not as much rolling and perhaps not as solid, so it's a little bit slower. How does that affect a pitch as the game wears on, if the groundsman hasn't had as much time on it as Abbas is in to complete the over, left alone wider this time of off stump, taken quite low down on this occasion by Mohammad Rizwan. End of the over, England 98 for 2, Crawley 53, Root 17.
Well, once I'd had my baked beans and scrambled egg this morning, and I was escorted out onto the pitch to have a little quick look, because it's just a little thing that old habits die hard, don't they? And I just like to go and have a look at the pitch first morning of a test match, and very clearly, it looked very dry. It had a whitish look, not as hard and as quick as the previous pitch, and so. I think the England's test selection of Archer is a good one to have that point of difference, and it's a toss that Joe Root will have been relieved to have won on bat first, no question. It's a very, very straightforward decision for the captain, and England, I think, have just got to show the discipline to make use of that. Now, Zach Crawley, look, he's in good nick, he's in good rhythm, he's playing very well. Joe Root, on the other hand, needs a little time at the crease, and it's just up to him, really. How does he find that rhythm? He likes to be proactive and scoring and get back on ball, or does he just give himself a chance and maybe go along at a more sedate rhythm?
Well, Nazim Shah is going to continue, and Root drives a full ball up to mid-on. There's no run. He's battling with himself a little bit here. He's sort of shadow playing shots and just sort of he's searching for that rhythm that Mark Ramprakash is talking about. It's going to be an interesting period here to see if Root can get himself back into the swing of things, because at the moment it just does look like he's just struggling with himself a touch. 2 slips, gully, backward point, extra mid-off, mid-on, deep square leg and a long leg. Nazim Shah is in, and he cuts at this and he gets it away, square of the wicket, down towards the backward point boundary. It will run quite slowly into, not the sponge of course, the rope today for 4. We have no sponge. That's presumably because of the wind, and England's 100 comes up. 102 for 2. Root with that moves to 21. Just a bit too short, a bit too wide. And he did look to get on top of that. It was a deliberate shot. Just backward a square on the offside. That might help him get moving.
That'll definitely help. It was good execution. And poor old Farid Alam, it went pretty much straight through him. And, it's poor misfield. And they had a couple of misfields this morning, Pakistan. They've got to be really careful. It is a very difficult day to be out there in strong winds.
Nazim's in again, short, pulled by Root down to fine leg, or long leg really. It's not that fine. He'll pick up a single. Mohammed Abbas does the fielding. 103 for 2. Root to 22. It's horrible. I mean, wind is just a horrible meteorological condition to do anything in, I find. But cricket especially. I mean, whenever I played in wind, I just wanted it to stop. I just wanted to get in the bar.
It just beats you up all day.
It beats you up. It beats you. That's exactly what it does. It buffets you.
Yeah.
And can't stand it. It's an invisible bully.
Did you have trouble once you got up into sort of your delivery stroke?
Well,
did it knock you off balance a little?
I tended to leave the bowling to more keen people. That seems in, and I played off the back foot by Crawley up to mid-off. Just hurried him ever so slightly, and there's no run. There's a few more suggestions for our Wind 11, by the way. You can get involved on the BBC Sport website or app with Amy Lofthouse on duty today. Frank Typhoon Tyson, well, yes. Chris Gale, Greg Blewett, those are all real people. Gladstone Squall is however not. Or Gust Fraser. Curtly Ann Breeze. It's not a breeze, I can tell you, today. Naseem is in. And Crawley is beaten on the outside edge. Just stuck on the crease. And that ball flew through to the keeper. He sort of played it just from the crease. He slightly pretended he wasn't playing it. Moved the bat inside after the ball had passed his outside edge. And finally, this one I do like. It's not just because of the fine Surrey man. Zephyr Ansari. Again, it's not so much of a Zephyr out there. It is a full-blown gale. TMS, bbc.co.uk or at BBC TMS on Twitter if you would like to contribute to this folderol. As Naseem is in once more. And Zach Crawley, works this ball off his hip round to long leg. Mohammed Abbas runs in off the boundary to do the fielding. 104 for 2 at the end of the over, the 32nd of England's innings. Crawley 54, Root 22. Some more thoughts on how England has survived or started to prosper in the last 20 minutes from Mark Ramprakash. And then I'm delighted to say it will be Atif Tiffers Nawaz.
Well, having given away the short wide one early in the over, I thought Naseem came back very well there. I mean, he's such a talent. Last ball was 88 miles an hour, and he does make things happen. There's no question about it. I mean, although the ball is 32 overs old, he's still getting a bit out of this pitch.
Abbas in now, and decent line outside the off stump through to the keeper for no run. Afternoon. Mark, how are you?
Afternoon. Yeah, very good, thank you. Did you enjoy your lamb kofta? Did you have that?
I did not, no. I opted for the vegetarian falafel.
Very healthy.
Yeah, well, somewhat.
Well, I know that you're very health conscious.
Yeah, well, I'm being made to be. I'm spending a bit of time with Azhar Mahmood. He's keeping a firm grasp on my diet and what it is I'm putting into my body. So, yeah, if you're going to get the advice of somebody, you may as well, when the next test cricketer gives you some advice about nutrition, you tend to take it, I say. In comes Mohammed Abbas once again, and just full of a length, and defended by Crawley. 104 for 2 is the score. Nice little session this for England, just kind of settled back into play quite nicely, controlling the rhythm and tempo of the game at the moment, wouldn't you say, Mark? Yeah,
they're 20 minutes on from the break, and Pakistan would have hoped for something loose from England or a good delivery to get another breakthrough, and 100 for 3. They'd be looking at sort of Ollie Pope coming to the crease. But from England's point of view, very important that these two get themselves in.
Abbas in now, full and just straying in line this time, tucked away into the leg side. They run through for a quick single and they make it with relative ease. In fact, that throw ricocheting into the pads of Crawley there at the non-striker's end. He nicely, sportingly picks up the ball and hands it to the fielder. Moves on to 55. 105 for 2 now, England.
That's something that England, I think, have really tried to do well, is any chance of a single off Abbas. They want to get down the other end, the batsman, but it's important from a team perspective that you know, they can chip away at Abbas and rotate the strike, and that was actually a good call. I thought it was a bit too close really, but it was actually a good call because it was to Shaheen's right hand, and therefore he had to get round his body to pick it up and throw at the stumps. And of course Joe Root would have been alive to that. He's someone who likes to take quick singles, so as a partnership, you know, these two should quite enjoy batting together.
Yeah, they seem quite settled at the moment. 2 slips and a wideish gully set now as Mohammad Abbas runs in and bowls good length outside the off stump, a bit wideish, comfortably left alone by Joe Root through to the keeper. Both batsmen standing a long way outside their stumps. No sign of Mohammad Rizwan wanting to stand up to the stumps just yet. What do you think would prompt him to do that?
Well, I'm sure it must have gone through their minds. Abbas may not be comfortable, perhaps, with the keeper up. You know, maybe his first choice to have him stay back. And we've seen when the England players have come down the wicket, he has tended to throw the ball a little bit wider as well.
In comes Mohammad Abbas now. Once again, he bowls and just angles into the pads. Once more flayed deftly into the leg side by Joe Root. They run through for another easy single. 106 for 2.
I would have thought, though, if England continued to play with relative certainty against Abbas, that they would have to try that option, because clearly both players don't want to play from the crease, and Zach Crawley in particular has pushed Abbas's length further back so that there are less balls threatening, you know, LBW and the stumps, and it's proved very effective so far.
Abbas now running in once more and bowls good length outside the off stump, left alone by Zach Crawley. It's the end of the over. 106 for 2, and England have picked up right where they left off just before lunch. Just nice and comfortable, nothing loose, settling into what they will hope for a big innings here. 55 for Zach Crawley, 23 for Joe Root. The last man out was Dom Sibley on 22. He's done quite well, Mohammad Abbas here. He spent a lot of time bowling in England, obviously, for Leicestershire, and you know, the batsmen here will be very familiar with him, and they've shown him a lot of respect as well in terms of, you know, the urgency to get off strike when he's bowling and to keep rotating. And we've got the sun back as well, just from behind a cloud, brightly lit all of a sudden. The Aegeus bowl. Naseem Shah running in now and bowls just slightly wide outside the off stump, left alone by Joe Root. No run. I had a chat with Naseem between the matches, and he told me this lovely story of being picked to play for Pakistan when he was 16 years old, and calling up his friends and telling them he's on his way to the match, and of course none of them could answer because they were still at school.
Wow.
Extraordinary.
What a story.
Yeah. He struck me as the kind of young man who's wholly obsessed with cricket.
Well, he seems to have a good head on his shoulders, doesn't he, so far? I mean, he's been handling the occasion very, very well, and he's not a young tearaway fast bowler, is he?
No.
He's this spell after lunch, to get thrown the ball straight after lunch, you know, they've got to have trust in what he can do.
Comes Naseem Shah now, and wide outside the off stump, pushed off the back foot by Joe Root and fielded at extra cover. No run. Yes, they've given him a lot of responsibility at a very young age, and he's shown that maturity and that humility you kind of expect from a young Pakistani fast bowler. You know, there's a lot of comparisons in his action with Dennis Lillee and things like that, and the nickname he's been given and things like that. And he just played it all down. You know, he's kind of like, you know, I'm just starting my career. This guy's a legend. You know, it's a huge compliment. All the things you like to hear. You know, a well-adjusted young man. And he comes now and bowls Naseem Shah, and better length that time, a little bit fuller on the drive. Joe Root pushing the ball to backward point for no run. He's engaging the batsman a little bit more from this angle. He's just getting it more of a driving area, Mark.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is that he's not a tearaway in that he's bowling bouncers and Yorkers. He's been pretty consistent with his length, and I felt at Old Trafford as well, I was surprised how much lateral movement he got from fairly old ball. I mean, he's bowling at 88 miles an hour. He's got a very controlled run-up. He doesn't sprint in. Perhaps someone like Waqar Younis, you remember, you know, he used to really accelerate. He's a very measured, controlled run-up.
In he comes once again, wide off the off stump, once more left alone by the batsman, through to the keeper for no run. Yeah, just very economical in his movement as well at the crease. Nice clean, just goes all the way through his action.
It's a repeatable action,
yeah.
It looks to me, you know, and that's why Pakistan probably have thrown the ball to him after the break, and often you go with bowlers who set the tone, who are going to bowl tightly and give you control as a captain and as a team, and quite a big thing for him to start the session, but good on Azhar Ali to give him that responsibility.
Naseem in, he bowls, and this time ball's been pushed to mid-on for no run. One delivery to come in the 34th over, 106 for 2 so far. England have batted really well today. Just shown that application and patience, having elected to bat first on this pitch. This Pakistani attack that we think of as really aggressive and dynamic don't seem to have any ideas at the moment. It's not easy going. In comes Naseem Shah now, and he bowls wide outside the off stump, once more left alone, through to the keeper for no run. That is the end of the 34th over, 106 for 2. There's a gust of wind just goes past us. I can see leaves flying all over the place. That leaf just went straight into Phil Tufnell's dressing room. There he is, yeah, just into his hotel room. I just saw it fly right in there.
It's probably put his fag out, hasn't it?
Oh dear. 106 for 2. It's nice to have a day of uninterrupted play as well, Mark, isn't it? After a while, it feels like it's been a while since we got a full day. Don't mean to put the mockers on it or anything, but it's looking good so far.
Yes, absolutely. And it this is Test cricket. The ball is over 30 overs old. The pitch is pretty good. First ever Test match. This is how it should be, the game, essentially. So, the bowler's having to work hard, find some line and length and some consistency. It looks as though Yasser is warming up and is looking to come back on. I think Abbas has felt actually bowling into this breeze is not much fun.
No.
And I might just save a bit of energy and go at the other end. But Yasser is absolutely key, his role here on the first day of the Test match, where as Andy Saltzman was saying, he went for over 20 runs in his first 4 overs, and he had 4 men out on the boundary. And you think, oh my God, he's not giving Pakistan any sort of control. But sure enough, he found his rhythm, his line and length. He got some drift into the right-handers, and he started to cause some problems.
Interesting there. Just got some pads, and I'll tell you about it in a second. As in comes Yasser for first delivery of his next spell. Just back over length and just pushed to the fielder extra cover. Now that fielder at short extra cover just had the pads put on that you associate with silly mid-off or short leg, or there's really close in positions. But having put those pads on, he's actually taken 3 yards back. He's gone 3 yards further back. There is a slip in place though, as Yasser Shah comes in once again, a little bit flatter again, and just bunted down the ground by Crawley too long off. And they will take a single, hands on head for Asad Shafiq at slip. And Mohammad Rizwan as well, he looks like he's seen a ghost. I guess it kept a little bit low, but the dramatics in this Pakistan team are superb. Wonderful expressions. There we go, the short leg's gone in now, and he's got the helmet on. Slip in place, a bit of noise around the bat. What can Yasser Shah do as he comes in and bowls to Root? And this time Root nice and forward in defence, soft hands, pushing that into the covers, no run. 107 for 2. What's that like, Mark? What's that like when you've got a bunch of fielders right around you, up close and personal, giving you some chat?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on whether you understand them or not.
Comes Yasser Shah back over length, pushed to the man sweeping in the covers for a single.
Which wasn't always the case when I played against Pakistan and in India and Sri Lanka. Of course, they bowl a lot of spin, so you are going to have a lot of company around you. With the Australians, it was a little bit easier to understand them. It was fairly blunt comments that they were coming out with.
Yasser Shah in now, back of length. Once one played a bit uppishly by Crawley, just wide of that fielder at silly mid-off, and it went to Shaheen Shah Afridi in the deep at long off. They take a single. Just slightly aerial that time from his crease. I beg your pardon, he played it straight into the ground. Not aerial at all. No threat whatsoever. I take that all back. Yasser Shah in now, back of length this time, and pushed to the man sweeping in the covers. They take a single. 110 for 2 now, England, after 35 overs. Yeah, so tell us about that, Mark. I'm quite curious. What are some of the things that you can tell us that were said around you? Broadcast friendly, of course.
Well, this is the predicament. Because as I say, I didn't understand too much of what the Pakistanis were saying, and of course with the Australians, I certainly did understand what they were saying, but it's certainly not able to broadcast it. So,
is it always quite rude, or is it occasionally quite clever?
What, the Australians?
I mean,
are you having a laugh? Come on now, I mean, by definition. No, I mean, it was good fun, at times. I mean, Shane Warne was great because, there's such theatre when he played. And if you did happen to score off him, it was almost as though he let you have the odd bad ball just to, even up the contest.
Naseem Shah now coming in and bowls a short delivery. It's been pulled very, very fine by Crawley. He's racing away towards the boundary. Yes, indeed, the fine leg won't get there. 4 runs for Zach Crawley. In fact, I beg your pardon, it was Joe Root on strike, wasn't it? End of the over. Yes, Joe Root with that boundary. Just swiveled on it, kept it nice and fine. And Shaheen Shah really tried to chase it down, but it was racing away right head towards us here in our commentary box.
I wondered how long it would be because he shook him up early on in his innings before lunch with a short ball that got into the ribs of Joe Root, and he looked pretty uncomfortable. That one, he was very decisive, the ball getting up a little higher, but he executed it very well, getting inside the line and playing it down to fine leg.
Bit of pressure being broken there as well. So Naseem Shah coming in once more. He bowls, slightly finished delivery, nearly takes an outside. Did it take an outside edge? Everybody celebrating. The batsman hasn't walked. The players are celebrating, and this is a bit unusual really because it seemed like it took an outside edge. Batsman hasn't quite walked yet. He has been given out. He's walking off now slowly. Excellent delivery, that just back of a length quick and just seemed away from Joe Root. Took the outside edge and taken a great diving catch as well by Mohammad Rizwan in front of first slip, and it just kind of caught everybody off guard a little bit. Out of the blue there, a wicket for Pakistan.
Oh, it certainly caught Joe Root off guard. It was a terrific delivery, pacey. Just a little hint of away movement, but it was the line, Joe Root having to play at the delivery, and that movement at that pace, there's nothing you can really do as a batsman. You hope that it moves so much you just play the line and you miss it, but that one finding the edge, and Naseem having got Joe Root out with a very similar delivery at Old Trafford, has once again got the England captain just when you felt that he was settling down after lunch and finding his rhythm. Had played a good hook shot the ball before, but this ball pitched up on a good length, and Joe Root not able to get far enough forward, close enough to the ball really, so that he could be in control. And a terrific catch from Rizwan. What a find he's been so far on this trip for Pakistan.
Absolutely, he's got to be amongst the best glovemen in the world at the moment. He just took that with complete. There was never a doubt really. That's the sign of a great wicketkeeper, isn't it? When you never even really register that, you kind of expect him to take those difficult chances in front of first slip, diving away from himself, full stretch as well, because it was a very thick outside edge that time. But yeah, nice variable bowling there from Naseem, keeping it short and then full with the next one. Tell us a little bit about that Joe Root innings, please, Andy.
29 from 51 balls, 3 fours. The partnership was 41 in 17 overs. Root's had a curious summer with the bat scores of 23, 22, 17, and then 68 not out rapidly against some low-pressure bowling as England hit towards a declaration against West Indies, and 14, 42, 9 not out in the draw the other day, and now 29. So he's been getting in and then getting out, not necessarily, generally through good balls. So he's had a frustrating summer with the bat. We've seen through much of his career that once he got to 25, he was very, very good at then going on to at least 50, although his 50 to 100 conversion rate has generally not been so spectacular. But he's been struggling to get even to a half century this summer.
Yes, his struggles continue there for Joe Root. Ollie Pope is the new batsman. In comes Naseem Shah, and that time left alone by Pope through to the keeper for no run. Mark Ramprakash has left us temporarily, and it's been replaced by Ebony Rainford Brent. And Ebbs, what a time for Pakistan to just get a wicket, get themselves back in the game a little bit.
Well, the game's moving at pace, isn't it? First of all, you're thinking, wow, well, the run rate was not far off fours for most of the morning. But then these wickets are coming as well. It kind of shapes up the game that even if England go at the rate they are, it still could be 280 all out, just if Pakistan are able to find a way to continue. It's not an easy wicket. I'm starting to see low bounce already. I don't know, this game's going to have a few twists and turns in, I feel, Atif.
Yeah, just like that sun hiding behind the clouds as in comes Naseem Shah once again. Wide outside the off stump, pushed into the covers, and they run through for a quick single. Pope quick off the mark there, and he's off the mark immediately. He's on 1 from 2. England 115 for 3. It's been a seesaw affair already today, hasn't it? Back and forth with the advantage. And it's nice to see cricket at that breakneck pace after the disappointment of the second test match.
After 5 days of watching rain. No, it's good. It is good. The other thing I'll say as well is how, you forget about how important pace is. I mean, there's not a huge amount in it for the bowlers like there was in the last game. But he's just charged in like a mile off 90 miles an hour. And I think it just surprised everybody a little bit, and it carried as well. So, good from the youngster.
Keeping them guessing is Naseem Shah as he comes in and bowls wide outside the off stump. It's a half volley. It's been driven beautifully by Crawley. It's racing away to that long off boundary. It's a very slow outfield over there, but it will get to the boundary. So another 4 for Zach Crawley. He moves on to 61 from 102 deliveries, 119 for 3 England. Naseem Shah, it's been a mixed bag of it over. It's tied with a short delivery that was pulled to fine leg, that was a hook to fine leg, I should say. Then beautiful length ball that was edged through to the keeper and now driven. What's left? What's left to do?
It's all happening, isn't it? First of all, I'm really looking forward to this partnership as well, because I like that shot there from Zach Crawley. These two are good to watch, and they're attractive players on the eye. And well, if they have a little partnership, I think we could be in for some delightful runs.
Yes, England will hope as Naseem Shah in for his final delivery, and he bowls, and it's a decent length this time, left alone by Crawley through to the keeper for no run. 119 for 3 now, England, after 36 overs. Crawley on 61 from 103 deliveries, and Pope on 1 from 2 after a few thoughts from Ebony Rainford. Brendan, you will hear Jonathan Agnew.
Yeah, I've been thinking about what a first innings score could be on this wicket. Initially, my thoughts were 350, 400, just in the sense that the pace of the game was moving at speed. But equally, with Pakistan just sort of chipping in here and chipping away at the wickets, and they have rotated the bowlers, used the spinner effectively through the morning. I don't know, I just feel like it could be an interesting game with lots of developments, Aggers.
I was going to ask Joe Root that very question this morning about what he thought a good score would be, and then thought he'd probably say 600 or something. So I thought I wouldn't bother asking him, but I wondered, because he was always going to do a little bit. I mean, he got a beauty there, but got the ball of the day from Naseem Shah. I'm not sure he could do much about that. Bounce left him, squared him up a little bit. Wonderful catch. There's always going to be a little bit of help there for the quicker bowlers, I think, because it is underprepared. But 119 for 3, and with England's batting weakened from the last game, Pakistan have a chance here. Pope's on 1, and the first ball from Yusuf turns away a little, and he plays that away square into the offside, which is heavily populated. There's a slip, a gully, backward point, a man on the drive at cover, and then a cover point and mid-off, and there's 3 men on the leg side. The sun's trying so hard to come out. As Yasser bounces in again, Pope's down the pitch very quickly at him and then pushes the ball back at him rather than plays anything more hostile. And there's lots of applause from behind the wickets for that. It was a top spinner actually from Yasser. It's a beautiful scene there on the replay. 119 for 3. Pope's on 1. Yasser again from over the wicket, bowls a bit short. And the pitch is so slow that Pope could just stand and play that and watch it onto the middle of the bat. And again, it's fielded by the bowler, who's one of these extroverted wrist spinners, really. They've all got a bit of character about them. And he goes once more. Bowls, and that's not a good shot from Pope. Driving, not getting to the pitch of the ball, slid away off an edge. Landed just in front of the fielder in the gully. Very careful.
Came down quite straight, didn't he? And then ended up flirting at one that just gripped.
It did turn, yeah, it did spin a bit, but it might be because it is that softer surface is the reason why that turned. We haven't been too many. Yasser again floats that up, and Pope this time solidly and determinedly forward, or rolls back for the wrist spinner to pick up. But I think all the wrist spinners I've come across have all been these chirpy, larger than life characters. It's all part of the way they bowl, I think. In he goes again, and Pope forward, plays out to short cover, and there's no run. But they're all smiley characters. They're all in your face a bit, and they're trying to. They're cunning, aren't they? They're trying to lure you into their web.
Well, even when a spinner bowls one that doesn't turn, they're giving you the oohs and the ahs, trying to get in your face.
And trying to make you think you haven't picked it properly and so on. I mean, the biggest pantomime dame of them all was Shane Warne, of course, who's just a couple of doors away, so I better be careful what I say. But he was all over the batsman, wasn't he? Not usually in an unpleasant way, but just magnifying the character. Everything to get into the batsman's head. Crawley's on 61, is playing really well. The wind's still with us, blowing down the ground. And Naseem Shah will continue, so he's quick enough anyway, but with this wind behind him, he's really getting the ball down now. There's 2 slips on a gully. Crawley waits for him now. He's there and he bowls and he punches that off the front foot. That's very well played again. A ball that didn't bounce very much. And that's heading out towards the long on boundary. And they're going to get 3 runs there. It's beautifully straight. That's one feature of his batting. He does hit the ball where you expect it to be hit, and I don't mean that in a positive way. Because he plays so straight. Beautiful shot there. A lot of batsmen might have put a bit more bottom hand into that and sent the ball all the way through mid-wicket, but he's hit that between bowler and mid-on. The unmistakable figure of Muhammad Abbas, slightly hunched shoulders, chasing after it. There's the next one, brings Pope forward, a bit of bounce this time. And the ball, again, is picked up by Abbas at mid-on. But definitely seems to pop a little bit. And that wind's blowing the slip cordon over now. The trousers really going in the wind. The last thing Pope needs is a ball similar to the one he got at Old Trafford, which was absolute brute. Flew from a good length. He was caught in the gully, of course. Well, that didn't come up nearly so quickly. It's a slower pitch, this one. And I think bowls to him is well forward, and again it's fielded at mid-on by the wily Muhammad Abbas, who hasn't taken a wicket yet today. We thought he might be rather awkward. He bowled well, but didn't quite find the edge. He beat the bat a number of times. It's 3 slips waiting. Pope twiddles the bat. The wind blows at the tarpaulins in front of us here and against the microphones and all the cables too for the television. There's Naseem bowls, and that's pushed away square into the offside, nicely fielded by Shan Masood. Just every now and then you get a gust.
It's serious at the moment, isn't it? I'm looking at the cameraman down just in front of us, and a lot of things around him are blowing him off. It's I
don't know how they keep their cameras steady. The chap out at deep point, he gave me a very friendly good morning Aggers as I walked past him this morning, but he's got no protection there at all, and he's in the teeth of the wind, really, pointing through his camera. He's wearing shorts as well, which is quite brave.
It's very brave.
It is. 122 for 3, 2 balls left in the over. Shah's on the way, and he bowls to Pope, who has 1, and that's a thickish outside portion of the bat as Pope comes forward. Again, that slight movement away from the bat. Fielded by Azhar Ali, the captain, there at mid-off. And there's no run, but essentially a grey day. But every now and then you get that little bit of blue sky like that's coming over the ground at the moment. But it's not with us for long. That's the trouble. It speeds in a northerly direction. It's coming up from the southwest. Naseem again bowls, and a little bit of bounce, and Pope will ride that, turn the ball to mid-wicket, and there's Abbas after it again. Arms and legs going like pistons, but he never really goes very fast. A bit like the way he runs into bowl, but 1 run to Pope who'll keep the strike, and it's 123 for 3.
Yeah, it's an interesting little period here, isn't it? I was just saying how quick the pace of the game's going. Wickets are going down at one end while we've seen runs continually flow. I think it's just now important that there's a little partnership established. If Pakistan get into this game for a couple of overs, they create a bit of pressure, new batter at the crease. 4 wickets down, it'll start to look like a different game.
Yeah, definitely, with Wokes in next. Andy's got a stat he's very keen to share. He's waving at me.
So a little more on Joe Root's batting.
All right. Yes, starts a new over meanwhile, and that's turned away down to deep backward square leg. Pope thinks about the second. He's not going to get it though, because very quickly Nassim whistles the ball into Rizwan.
In the course of that innings, he became the third England player to reach 1,000 runs against Pakistan in Test cricket after Alistair Cook and David Gower. Looking at his form since the end of the 2017 summer, he's averaged 38 in his last 38 tests with 4 centuries and 17 other 50s. In his 44 tests before that, he'd averaged over 60 with 11 hundreds.
Now Yasser bowls and is driven by Crawley. Pleasant looking shot out to cover, and there's no run. That's quite a big difference, isn't it? You often wonder with captains if that's what weighs them down. Often a new captain gets a bit of a spike. Yasser again bowls short this time. Oh, he almost holed out in the most casual way, and that would have been a real waste, but Crawley's got away with it, flicking the ball into the leg side, just in front of and to the left of the man there at short mid-wicket. And to have played so well to get to 64, that really would have been a waste.
Yeah, slow off the surface, and sometimes you end up having to wait, and you don't wait long enough. There is that danger. You can just chip it up. As Rowley got excited for a moment, that would have been a
really soft dismissal. I mean, he's got a great chance here. Yasser Shah moves in, bowls to him, and he's forward. And all rolls back up the pitch. He's got a tremendous chance here to get a big 100. He's played very fluently so far. He played well the other day, and that's a rather meaningless passage of play, but it wasn't meaningless for him. He found some touch, but he mustn't get out like that. Yasser again bowls to him, forward, stretching a little. They're going to take a quick single there. Pope goes rushing into his ground at the far end, and there could be an overthrow, but in fact Nassim has read that play pretty well down there at long leg, and he cuts off that opportunity. So 127 for 3. Seeing on the television there one of the absolute highlights of my watching cricket career, which was Nasser Hussain, LBW to Carl Hooper with a ball that literally went along the ground.
the grubber.
It was an absolute beauty. I remember it well. I was in Trinidad. And there's almost happened here too. It's gone straight through Pope. Straight through him. A full-length ball. And he looks most dejected as he walks off there. He's simply missed. It might have been a ball that rolled on rather than the wrist spinner, but he's on the back foot. And Yasser's delighted. Another wicket goes down. Let's have a look at this. No, it was a leggy. It's just, well, he's got himself in a terrible position, very squared up. It's gone past the inside edge and hit the off stump.
Well, Yasser Shah is bowling a treat here. You have to remember he's come in on the first day of play to have an impact in this game, and already he's done that. With that delivery as well, you're right, it feels like almost Pope got himself into a bad position and almost overcommitted to the offside, and then ended up having to come across the ball and left a bit of a gap in an awkward position. But well done to Yasser Shah, because like we say, with the breeze, the wicket, everything that's being thrown at him this morning, he's had to step up, and he has done that. So we talked about how quick this game is moving, Aggers. 4 wickets down, 127 for 4. I don't know, I didn't feel that during the start of the session. I thought we were looking at a 400 score, but now Pakistan will be thinking about keeping them 250 below.
Well, it could be. Joss Butler's coming out. Wrist spinners always make things happen, and that's why it's always so good to have it on your side. Yes, they often leak runs because they don't have the control, or most don't have the control of the finger spinner, but they spin the ball at different degrees. They can spin it different ways, and there's all this sleight of hand about the way they bowl. You're always searching, looking to see what they're doing, but that, yeah, you credit to the bowler, but Pope will be cross about that. He didn't play that well at all. So out comes Joss Butler, averaging 32 these days, still that 100. It's his 47th test. He's coming out now with England, well, facing a bit of a crisis, to be honest, because Wokes is due in next, and then down to the bowlers. I wonder why I went back to that. I'm just looking at the replay, whether he just completely misread it. Something there drove Ollie Pope onto the back foot, and I'm afraid he paid the price. It played him on the back foot a couple of times in the previous over, but the ball's a bit shorter and the pitch is slow, so he had time to play it, but he just got the length of that one wrong. Shame. Love watching Ollie Pope bat. He's a real star for the future, but well, he might have learnt something there. 127 for 4. Mohammad Abbas is back. He bowled 9 overs earlier on. No wicket for 22, and he's bowling with the wind behind him, so Nassim Shah's having a breather. And Abbas is going to bowl to Crawley. And up he comes now, trundling in, bowls outside the off stump. Ball almost bounces a second time before plopping into Rizwan's gloves. They're showing lots of replays of it on telly, which... Yeah, he's so squared up. The bat doesn't come through straight at all. He's just got himself in a real mess.
So second time Yassir's got him sort of similar type of shot, but prior to those two dismissals, Pope had only once been dismissed by a spinner in around 300 balls that he'd faced of spin bowling in his brief Test career so far.
127 for 4. And Abbas runs in. The sun's pursuing him actually on the ground at least. He bowls outside the off stump. And Crawley once again allows that to go by. 67 not out. A mixed forecast for the match. It doesn't look very good towards the end. So let's see where we go with this. But at the moment, the game is moving along. And of course, Pakistan need to win it to level the series. And Crawley settles over his bat once more. A bit more noise out there now, I detect, in my headphones too. As Abbas moves in, bowls Crawley's forward. Very quickly there, Yassir comes up from cover to field. And there's no run, but he's very pleased with himself. Yassir's taken 2 wickets now, and they are charismatic individuals, wrist spinners. Abdul Qadir, who worked with us quite a lot actually on Test Match Special. They have this presence, this big charisma. 127 for 4. Abbas is on his way again. Small steps, bowls outside the off stump, almost off the wrong foot, as we talked about earlier. So Crawley has nothing to do with that. Just looks at it, turns away. And it's collected by Mohammad Rizwan. And definitely more noise out there now. Hear it coming across the sound of the wind. And of our hum too, which is just there in the background to make it sound as if, anyway, that there are people here enjoying the cricket. I'm sure lots are watching and lots are listening, but it's just a shame that there's no one actually here. Now Abbas moves in, bowls, cuts back a little. Crawley's not playing it very straight, and Butler's slow setting off for that. They take the single. Out to square leg, and Abbas is staring at Crawley, saying, "I almost got you there," and I think he probably did. He was just cutting back at that front pad. 128 for 4. Crawley goes to 68. And our microphone's taking a buffeting in this wind. Have you been to those woods yet, Ed? Have you had a stroll up there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's lovely up
there. Is it?
Yeah, it's very peaceful. See the odd dog walker coming through. But, still, and I'm a bit concerned about my friend the steward, who has sat there in exactly the same place since the first Test here against the West Indies.
He's watching you, is he?
Well, I don't know what he's watching, because he's basically looking at a fence.
Is it to make sure people don't enter the bubble?
Well, I suppose so, but they'd have to vault this fence. He's there all day looking at a piece of fence. In comes Abbas. He's there and he bowls outside the off stump. And it's the end of the over. He's a man of few words. I feel we're quite friendly now. But we're on reasonable terms now, but he's showing a lot of stamina.
Are you taking him a coffee or anything?
Well, I should do.
I think you should take him a morning coffee.
What I could do is I could take him a Dorset knob, because I've just been given here.
Where do we get one of those?
Well, I don't know where you get one, but Henry got, because Henry was going through Dorset, weren't you? So he's managed to find, we were talking about these the other day, he's found a packet of Dorset knobs, which I think are only made at certain times of the year, aren't they? Which is why they go so hard. Brian Johnston loved a knob for breakfast, and he would say, "This is what I'm going to have." Whenever he went to Swanage on his family holiday, he always demanded a Dorset knob, because they are very hard. I'm going to beat one on the table in a minute. Well, listen to that. I'm going to eat that. Here's Yassir bowling, and Crawley nudges that into the offside. That is a very...
confirmation of a hard knob.
That's a really hard knob, and I don't know how you break into that. But I presume you have butter and Marmite, marmalade, honey.
Well, what do you have it with? Is it like a...
Well, I don't know.
Is it breakfast?
I don't know. This is short outside the off stump, and Crawley chops away down to... Oh, no, have it for breakfast.
So it's a breakfast with a tea or coffee, bit of jam.
Yeah, but it's how you break into it. That's the question, because that is... I'll do it again. And that is... it's broken in, it's broken up. That's what you do with it. That's how you get into it. It's splintered. It's Crawley forward. playing back up the pitch, and there's no run. But you wouldn't fancy. I mean,
Are you sure these are edible? Are you sure they're not gone
I
off?
was going to say, if you try and get your teeth into that, it's going to. Well, you'll be down to the dentist. 128 for 4. Crawley's on 68, and Yasser's on his way. What are you doing with that? And he's driving now down to long off, and they pick up 1 run. That's going to take some chewing.
Well, I've just made a bit of a mess.
So have I, if I'm honest. We need a dustpan. 129 for 4. 2 balls
They're
made in the
actually
over.
light. Even though it feels hard,
Yeah. But it's not.
the texture is actually quite light. You see what I mean?
It is actually. We'll read about this in a moment. The Moores family have been baking in Dorset since before 1860, starting from a small bakery. Makes a range of sweet biscuits and cakes, as well as the Dorset knob. This is short, flicked away, and there's no one out there at deep mid-wicket. And so Butler's off the mark with a boundary out towards that vacant area there, bouncing over the rope with no advertising sponge on it today. Dorset knobs were originally made from dough, left over from a morning's bread production. This dough was moulded into small rounds, the shape of an embroidered Dorset knob button. Proved, baked overnight in the falling heat of the wood-fired oven. In the morning, the biscuits would emerge crisp and golden with a remarkable keeping quality. The fact is, they could stay fresh for weeks. So it made them a store cupboard staple for farming folk who would pour hot tea and sugar on them and eat them for breakfast. At other times of the day, they were split open and eaten with a little salted butter or mature cheese, which is how most people enjoy them today. There you are. You're up to speed with a Dorset knob.
Well, hard knob in the morning sounds like the perfect way to start the day.
Well, with hot honey, was it? In goes Yasser over the wicket, bowls, and that's pushed away into the offside. And it's the end of the over, which is probably a good thing. Michael Vaughan's about to come in here. And I think maybe someone's going to come and relieve me, which is probably a good thing as well. I think Dan's coming in, so we're doing a double change. Everybody's made a real mess there.
Family show, everyone.
There's crumbs all over the place. 133 for 4. The wind's getting up as well. And Michael, you can say a few words there, and I'm going to clear up this wreckage and make room for Dan Norcross.
Yeah, nice biscuits. Can't beat them. Pakistan one-day team, they're having a game. Just to our left on the Colts ground, I can see them in their coloured clothing, getting ready for the T20s and the games that will start in Manchester on Friday week.
Start of a new over. First delivery is pushed back up the wicket by Zach Crawley to mid-off, and there is no run. Mohammed Abbas is in the attack with the wind, and I'm delighted to say that Michael Vaughan has arrived to raise the tone, because things have gone just horribly awry in the last 3 minutes. I'm covered in crumbs. What is this stuff?
Dan, Andy's been waiting for a while to get some kind of stats. I don't know if it's about the Dorset knobs, but something's going to come out of his mouth.
Please not. Abbas in, 2 slips, Gully, and Crawley comes forward to a full delivery on off stump and plays it out square of the wicket on the offside, where it's picked up and there is no run. Andy, please save us from this madness.
Well, I think the Dorset Knobs did pretty well in the Minor Counties T20 competition last year. The stat is that there are no extras in the first 40 overs. Only the 4th time since 2001, when the ball-by-ball stats are available, in a test innings in England, that there have been no extras in the first 40 overs.
Well, that is staggering, as England 133 for 4, teetering somewhat here, as Mohammed Abbas is in, forward again in defence to a full ball on a round off stump, pushed out to Yazir Shah at short extra cover by Crawley.
Dan, do you know why that's
There
so
is no run.
staggering? Is that obviously we're in a new era that no balls are
Indeed.
monitored by the third umpire, so
Yeah.
you could argue that the stat before that no balls would have been missed. Well, don't miss them anymore.
Well, exactly. I mean, absolutely. And by the way,
This is pure.
and there's a gale, so you'd think there might be more no balls. It's harder for the bowler as they run in. You'd think it'd be harder for the wicket-keeper. We've had no byes, we've had no extras. Mohammed Abbas in again, and Crawley again comes forward. This ball's slightly less full, again on off stump, played to point, and there's no run. Crawley has been the standout performer for England today, 69 from 121 balls. Joe Root toughed it out for 29, but there will be some concerns. There'll be some concerns for Ollie Pope. The second time he's been done by that ball from Yazir Shah that just skips on. It was a bit full. He's playing it on the back foot. It went straight through him and bowled him. That's what...
that's jittery times.
Fourth wicket.
Jittery times in the second innings when Ollie Pope goes out there because he knows exactly what he's going to be facing.
Mohamed Abbas runs in. And Crawley clips this away nicely, square of the wicket on the leg side. That's going to run away towards the boundary, and it's going to get to the boundary. That was a wonderful shot on the knee, straying a little bit onto the leg side was Mohamed Abbas, but that was crisply timed by Zach Crawley. Sends him into the 70s. He has 73. England 137 for 4. But conditions have been getting a bit more awkward. I've sort of sensed since lunch it's been a bit tougher to bat. The bowlers have, where I think in the first hour or so, the Pakistan bowlers didn't quite find that consistency of line and length.
Yeah, but what I really have enjoyed about Zach Crawley, every time he's had an opportunity to score, he's taken it. And every time a boundary option has come, like that one just then on the hip, he times it perfectly, goes to the rope. He's really maximised every chance that he's had.
Mohamed Abbas in, last ball of the over. Oh, and Crawley gets a thick under edge as he came forward to defend that, and it bounced into the ground and wasn't very far from his leg stump. But he does survive as drinks, I think, are about to come onto the field. We've got normal session times, which is so abnormal in this Test series. Indeed, against the West Indies, we've had so much poor weather, and England go to drinks halfway through the second session of the day on 137 for 4. Crawley has 73. Butler has 4. And Andy, I was asking you over lunch actually about rain and bad weather on the first day. Of this series? This summer.
The first sessions, only 3 tests out of the 6 have we had a full day one first session. There was no play at all in the first test against West Indies. England had only 13 overs in the second test. There was a full 27 over session in the third West Indies test at Old Trafford. Pakistan batted getting a full session in the first test of this series, and they were 23 overs on the first day last time. So it's been an annoyingly disrupted series. That extra stat, there are 447 innings in that statistical sample in which a team's batted 40 overs at least in an innings, and only 4 times have been no extras. And just quickly on Joe Root's form, it's been particularly noticeable in the first innings of games. Going back to the final test against West Indies in 2017, in 38 tests in the first innings, he's averaging just 32 with 107 other 50s. Prior to that, he had been fantastic in first innings. Previous 44 tests, he'd averaged 78 in first innings with 11 hundreds and 15 other half centuries. And I sometimes wonder, Michael, that when we look at Joe Root's batting form as captain, the test before that sequence where his form has diminished was the Headingley test where he declared and England lost. It was the first time his captaincy had criticism. Could there be a sense that that was the time where, almost his honeymoon period ended and the cares of captaincy started to impact on his batting?
You could argue that. I mean, what's his overall average as a Test captain?
I'll just get that for you.
I do. I mean, I've watched him closely. I just think he's finding batting that little bit more difficult at the minute. You go through those periods as a player when you play so much, and he's obviously played a lot of cricket, that you can see that he's looking at his grip a little bit. He's kind of playing a bit with his thigh pad. It's all a bit uncomfortable, and I think he's changed a little bit in his stance. It looked to me like he was batting quite far over to that off stump today. So that ball that he got's a good one, but he just turned his shoulders slightly. Similar delivery that he got from Naseem Shah at Old Trafford. So they're not bad balls, obviously, they're decent balls to be getting, but I still think when Joe's playing at his best and his alignment's perfect, I think he gets away with those really good balls. I think he's making quality deliveries look really, really good. When he's at the top of his game and he's in sync and his mind's free and he's calm, I think he survives against the better balls. At the minute, he's just having one of those periods where you can tell little things about when he's facing spin at the minute. He's usually so busy against spin and it looks so easy. Even facing the leg spin, it just looks like it's quite a challenge for him at the minute. You go through those kind of spells as a player where, unfortunately, the ball just shrinks a little bit. It doesn't quite come at you like a beach ball, and you just overcomplicate things. You think too much about the game and about batting. And obviously the easy kind of finger point is, it's the captaincy. There's too much on his plate. I think he can cope, obviously, as a batsman and a captain, but he's just probably, like all players do, probably overthinking it.
It's how he plays in between dismissals that intrigues me. Because I mean, straight after lunch today, he came out and there was an odd waft at a ball nearly under edge. There were all sorts of sort of just things that didn't look rhythmically in sync for him. I mean, you get out to good balls, and it was undeniably a terrific ball from Nazim Shah, and you get those, and these things happen. Yazir Shah is going to start up after the drinks break. His first delivery to Josh Butler is full and defended into the covers. It's picked up, there's no run, the Gale picks up again, and he's ultimate.
Joe Root averages 42.4 as captain. He averaged 52.8 in the ranks.
So 42 it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad
overall.
Yazir Shah in again as Butler flexes his knees and cuts into the offside. It wasn't that short to cut, it was outside the off stump, but it's picked up in the covers, and there is no run.
I just feel with Pakistan bowling well, and you can tell by the field they've got set to Butler, they're on the squeeze. There's no cover point on the boundary, no mid-wicket on the boundary, everyone's in on the one, short leg as well.
Yazir in, he's gone for the little paddle sweep as Butler, and he's managing to get that quite fine. He's going to run back for a second, and he makes it comfortably enough as now hang on. No, I thought there might have been a little problem for the fielder down there at fine leg as he threw the ball in rather limply and along the ground, and then clutched his leg, but in the end I think all is well. It's Nazim Shah down there, 2 more to the total, 139 for 4, Butler to 6. There's a slip, a forward short leg, a backward point. Cover slightly deeper but still saving one, extra mid-off as Shah is in, and Butler just pushes firmly off the front foot to wide mid-off.
I'm interested here, Dan, about Josh Butler. You go back to 2 weeks ago, the chase on that 4th day, wonderful innings. He came out and played one-day cricket. Can he get the tempo going in this situation where it's just on a knife edge in the first innings?
Shah in again, goes back into his crease. There's Butler and plays off the back foot up to Shaheen Shah Afridi at mid-off. There's no run.
Yeah, can he play in a similar fashion to set the game up rather than with a target to aim for?
Well, I think that's part of the problem, isn't he? He had clarity of mind in the last game. He played in the last game but barely batted as Yazir Shah's in again and off the back foot to a ball that just held up a trifle. Butler just pushes to backward point. End of the over, 139 for 4, 2 off the over. Butler has 6, Crawley 73. I mean, in that partnership, he and Wokes looked supreme, but part of it was because they didn't really have a choice. Ollie Pope had just got out to a brute of a ball from Shaheen Shah Afridi that had popped. England needed 160 to win. There wasn't really any other option but to play very aggressively. Now here, doesn't he come back? Then you go back into the what do I do? It's 139 for 4. England are in a very precarious position. Does he think I've just got to tough it out for the next 20 overs and see where I get to, or can he have that clarity?
Well, I'd like to see him have that clarity of attack. And just you go back to Old Trafford, he didn't hit the ball in the air, he just played good strong cricket strokes, and I'd be encouraging him to play in that fashion all the time in Test cricket, in particular a situation like this.
Mohamed Abbas is in, Rizwan's up to the stumps, and Crawley plays very late on a fullish ball outside off stump with an angled bat along the ground to second slip. It's an odd looking field as the bowler comes in towards us, because Mohamed Rizwan is right up to the stumps to the seam bowler, and the 2 slips are quite deep, as is the gully, and backward point, extra mid-off, mid-on, and a square leg about 2 yards in front of square with a long leg. There's real chatter, real murmur out there now as Pakistan feel they're on top with England, 139 for 4. Here comes Mohamed Abbas, and Crawley edges along the ground. First slip parries it, and they're going to get a couple of runs here. I know just the single is first slip just not capable quite of taking that cleanly. Burst through his hands and has run down towards us for a single. 140 for 4. It's a good thick edge, but the slips are quite deep for Mohamed Abbas.
Yeah, again, an indication of the pace of the pitch. It's a slow surface, but Rizwan stood up to the stumps as a good move against Zach Crawley, because he has been getting outside of the crease to try and nullify the LBW. I'd do the same to Josh Butler. I'd just stay up to the stumps to make sure that if the batsman has to keep his feet behind the line.
Well, he hasn't. He's standing back for Butler as Abbas is in, and Butler drives firmly and beautifully straight down the ground to the offside of straight, up to the boundary rope for 4. That was a lovely shot, well balanced, head over the ball, crisp timing. He moves to double figures. He has 10 from 10 balls. Crawley at the other end 74, England 140 for 4.
Oh, it was glorious,
wasn't it?
just pure, very simple. Not a, he gets his trigger movement, gets a nice base, and then just kind of little kind of tread forward with that front foot to get a bit more momentum towards the ball. It's not often you see Mohamed Abbas get driven down the ground. It's quite a difficult bowler to drive because he very rarely bowls a half volley, and everything's just kind of nibbling either way.
I didn't see, is he batting out of his crease here? It's hard to
Just
see from this
slightly.
angle.
Andy's got the binos on. Is he out of his crease, Andy? No. No.
Here comes Abbas, turns and runs in. And Butler pushes and a ball in the channel outside the off stump. An indeterminate little poking, prodding waft that goes through low to Mohammad Rizwan behind the stumps. Scrambled seam, that one. It seemed to fizz a bit.
Yeah, this is the kind of pitch that you would think the Pakistan batsmen won't mind batting on. Not a great deal of pace, not a huge amount of bounce. Quite slow, low.
Bit of lateral movement there,
Just a bit, yeah, a bit of movement.
Wobble seam, perhaps we might see from England. Abbas is in, and that's clipped away in the air to a square leg, and it lands just in front of the fielder. My word, that was close. It was on the knee stroke hip of Butler, and he timed it gloriously, but it was in the air for far too long, and it's landed just in front. Wow. We'll see that again. He just turned his wrists on it, but that has bounced.
Just played it
5 or 6 inches in front of the fielder.
Yeah, he just played it a little bit too soon. It didn't come off the surface with any kind of zip. Just there a little bit early on the shot there, Butler.
Yeah, it comes off his bat nicely, but too aerial. As Abbas is into him again, and he lets this one go by, shouldering arms. The ball that just angled back into him slightly, but his back of a length. He could leave on length. End of the over, 144 for 4. 44 overs have been bowled. Crawley 74. Butler has 10. And a rather important, well, what have we got? Sort of 46 minutes coming up to tea. We always say these moments are important and what have you, but with England, I mean, Chris Wokes has had an innings in this series, but he's not had an innings other than that innings, if you like, for a couple of years. So, it was again in very specific circumstances. So Pakistan will be really feeling they've got a real chance here. The door is ajar. A wicket here. And they'll feel they can bowl England out, certainly today.
Well, again to Zach Crawley, they're bringing cover point up on the one. They've got long off on the boundary. Azhar Ali just keeps strolling from mid-wicket to have a chat with Yasir Shah. I'm not too sure what the conversation will be, whether they're going to think about putting that cover point on the boundary. I don't think they will do. I think they're trying to force Crawley to hit through that inner ring. I think it's a good decision.
Well, it's I'm going to tell you about this ring, because the ring itself is quite deep. The backward point, the cover and the extra cover, they're all a good 30 yards away, but there's a short extra cover as well. As forward comes Zach Crawley in defence, and the ball comes off the inside half of his bat. Rizwan trots round to collect from around the short leg position. There's a mid-wicket mid-on and a deep backward square leg. And then you have Shaheen Shah Afridi down here at a wide, long off, about 10 yards inside the boundary. Tossed up, swept at, missed by Crawley. The ball rolls off his pad and down towards first slip, and there's no run. There was half a thought of an appeal there for a moment. Crawley's eyeing up this mostly vacant leg side in front of square. We've just got the mid-wicket and the wide mid-on. And he's looking to hit through that area. As he comes forward in defence to a full delivery on off-stump, pushes to short extra cover. And there's no run. Shaheen Afridi is warming up ominously down in front of us. Stretching his knees, and his calves and his thighs as Yasir Shah is in. And Crawley drives impressively, but to that extra cover on the edge of the square, and they get through for a single as it was slightly to his right. Well taken single takes Crawley to 75, 3/4 of a century. England 145 for 4. What's Crawley's top score in Test cricket?
So he has 76 that he made on this ground in the second innings of the first Test of the summer against West Indies.
Just go back to that chase in Manchester. We never saw this field. after Josh Butler. Never once did Yasir Shah bring mid off into the circle onto the one, or the cover point up onto the one like they have done now.
They went defensive
yeah,
instantly,
they're basically saying to him, go on, try and whack it over the top. Or
Yazir's into him with mid on and mid off up, and that's wide of the off stump. Left alone, turns into the gloves of Mohammad Rizwan. So again, you've got this tight, slightly suffocating field on the offside, all saving one with the slip and forward short leg. But notably, long off has come up for Butler. This is tossed up again by Yasir. Worked round the front leg, round the pad. It was a bit too leg side, and Butler's going to run back for a second. That's terrific running from Butler. He didn't get much on it, and as a result, long leg had a long distance to travel. 2 more to the total. England 147 for 4 at the end of the over. Crawley 75, Butler 12. An absorbing passage of play. He's been absorbing all day, but particularly absorbing since lunch. Now, is that Imam al-Haq?
yeah, it was. I was
on?
just about to say the 12th is on, and he's had the stare from the skipper and Yasir Shah, because it was a clever run, because Butler kind of flicked it off his hip, and he realised he'd not kind of timed it, and it went half the way, and I think he saw it was him, and he was a bit on his heels. He thought, you know what, you're not quite on it, so I'll take you for a second.
Who's off, do we think? I wonder. Is Nassim maybe off after? Well, hang on. Mohammed Abbas is now being replaced by Shaheen Afridi. I can't see Mohammed Abbas at the moment. I wonder if he's gone off after his spell.
Where's Nassim Shah as well? I can't quite see Nassim.
Yeah, we'll have a look. We've got 2 slips of gully backward point extra. Mid off, mid on. This forward square leg and a long leg. So we're going to see Shaheen Afridi again. 8 overs he's bowled so far today. The one maiden, he had a splendid spell just before lunch, which arrested England's development somewhat after they'd gone off to, I wouldn't say a flyer, but they were going very comfortably in the first hour of play, and then Yasir Shah and Shaheen Afridi just pulled it back a little in the last 20 minutes before lunch. He's going to start up now to Zach Crawley on 75. He's in, left arm over, and that's defended off the front foot by Crawley, a ball that popped ever so slightly on a round off stump, and it's pushed into the covers. It's picked up by Yasir Shah.
I think there's been enough balls today, Dan, that you've seen the odd ball keep a bit low. I've just seen that one there just kind of springed off a length. I think we'll see a lot more of that as the test match progressing.
Think this pitch is going to start playing tricks?
Yeah, I think so. Not quite yet.
Nazim Shah is off the field, I'm being told. Here comes Shaheen Afridi into Crawley, and Crawley again defends very watchfully on the front foot, straighter this time, but Yasir Shah still collects at a kind of short extra cover position. There's no run.
Yeah, all real quality test match players, that they have time to play the stroke, and to say today, Zach Crawley has looked like he's had all the time in the world to play his strokes. Even that defensive shot there, it's almost as if he got into his position and the ball was released out of the hand, it just came and he just went, oh, thank you very much.
Yeah,
he's got time.
He does, doesn't he? I mean, that's one of the reasons, I guess, he's in fast-tracked as Shaheen is in again, and off the back foot. That's punched nicely past a diving Yasir Shah in the covers. It's going to run away towards the boundary, but be hauled back in. They will run through for 3, which takes Crawley to his highest test score. He moves to 78, and England with that, 150 comes up. 150 for 4, having lost both openers, Burns first and then Sibley before lunch, and then since lunch Joe Root for 29, and then Ollie Pope to one that skipped on much as it did in the last game here from Yasir Shah, went straight through and bowled him on this occasion. And England in a spot of bother. A spot of bother at that point. They're still in a spot of bother. The fourth wicket went at 100 and what was it, Andy? 129?
127.
127, thank you. So Butler's on strike now, with Afridi bowling to him. 2 slips and a gully. Left arm over. The right-handed Butler, who lets this go by on length as much as anything else, as it bounces high past the sort of 4th, 5th stump line into the gloves of Rizwan.
I reckon if you asked Zach Crawley, he's probably the only cricketer and broadcaster and anyone that enjoys cricket that has said that COVID's been very good to him, because he's got 3 of his 50s here at the Ageas Bowl, and if we're in COVID times next year and we have to play the games at the Ageas Bowl on Trafford, he'll be delighted.
He'll be a shoo-in. After this ball, Andy, I'll come to you as Shaheen is in. But this is defended again by Butler. Well defended. A foolish ball and around off stump into the covers where Yazir Shah fields.
New Zealand against England, Lords 2008, New Zealand's second innings. There was the first extra of the innings off the final ball of the 46th over. That's the latest since 2001 when we have these figures, that an extra has been scored. The first extra has been scored in a test innings in England. So if there's no extra off this ball, we will have a new record.
A
for
new
that.
world England record.
When the records have been kept.
Right, here we go. This ball, there's a lot on it as Afridi is into Butler, who lets us go by. It's well taken by Mohammed Rizwan. Safely taken, no byes. End of the over. England 150 for 4. Crawley 78. Butler has 12. To reflect on this momentous moment will be Michael Vaughan, and then I'll be replaced by Isha Gill.
You like that, Andy, didn't you? Yeah, Crawley 78, Butler 12, 150 for 4. Pakistan, if they can get another couple of quick ones. Don Best in at number 8, Jofra Archer at 9, and going without Sam Curran this week. Last week, Joe Root said they picked Sam Curran to shore up the batting. Well, they've gone without Sam Curran this week. Now, they're going to put long off on the boundary for Zach Crawley, but that ring's still in place. They're on the squeeze. Afternoon, Ish.
Afternoon to you, Michael, as Zach Crawley is on strike on 78, taps his bat down, looks down the track as Shah tosses it up, driven to extra cover firmly from Crawley. He does strike it with a lot of power. Tall frame of his, long levers, spinning the bat in his hand now.
Apparently a very good golfer as well, Zach Crawley. I'm led to believe. Okay. About 4 handicap.
Oh, there you go. As Shah is through and Crawley is forward and defending to the offside. Had a few rounds here, is he?
Apparently, yeah. Yeah, gives it a good whack.
What are you off these days?
8.
Okay, yeah. Ricky Ponting scratch, isn't he? As Yasir Shah bowls, Crawley pushes to the offside to point, no run.
Yeah, I think A.B. de Villiers.
There's a few good cricketing golfers out there.
Andrew Strauss is off 3 or 4 now. So he was telling me earlier on. He was boring me at breakfast.
Crawley, forward press, then back in his crease, nearly chops onto the stumps. It's just been that length every now and then, unsure whether to go forward or back. And Yasir Shah is hands on hips.
Well, they've reviewed something, haven't they? What are they doing here? They're checking for something.
Okay. The umpires are coming together.
What do they think? That the ball's hit his boot, inside edge, and it's then carried through to Rizwan? I don't know what they're checking for here.
Michael Goff. Having a chat to the umpire and signalling. So, yeah, they're appealing for the catch. Soft signal is not out.
Rizwan hasn't got a clue. He's shrugging his shoulders, he's laughing.
He definitely gets bat on it as he gets deep into his crease. Oh, it goes into the floor, onto his pad, and then Rizwan takes the catch.
Not out. Repeat.
Surely he saw that.
He slammed it. It's an inside edge onto the ground, up to the back part of his left leg, and then balloons up to Rizwan, who's diving to his left to take the catch. It was a pretty easy decision for Richard Illingworth. Kettleborough, in fact, who's in the third umpire chair. So England resume on 150 for 4. Yasir Shah through again. Crawley lunging forwards and covering the ball. Defending it back to the bowler as the sun comes out here in Southampton. There's clouds blowing over to our right. Strong gale as Shah is through again, and Crawley tentatively comes forward and with an angled bat defends the ball once more at the end of the over. Then 150 for 4 England. Crawley on 78, Butler on 12. Vital partnership here between these two. You mentioned Sam Curran not in the side, gone with Jofra Archer. Changes the balance, and ownership on these two to take England to a decent first innings total. Grey clouds above here at the Aegeus as Shane Shah Afridi will continue from the pavilion end. 2 slips in a gully in position as Butler stands with an open stance. The left armour comes in now, past the Suns bowls. Butler drives to mid-off, off the front foot. No run.
Yeah, you feel if England can get to 275, 300, I think it'll be very competitive on this kind of wicket. Yeah, but Pakistan, if they get one now, they can have England 180 for 6. Could quite easily bowl England out for 210, 220. This partnership's absolutely crucial.
Straw-like colour, an appearance to the pitch as Shaheen Shah runs towards us. Bowls, Butler allows it to pass outside the off stump for good length. Sure, he's enjoying being able to bowl from the pavilion end. Shaheen Shah Afridi, having taken the new ball from the northern end, bowling into the wind. Always difficult, especially when you have a gust of wind and then it settles and then you have to go again. But he's got it behind him at the moment. Stands at the top of his mark once more. White wristband as his arm is pumping. He approaches the crease and again allows it to pass Butler through to Rizwan.
He's impressed me, Afridi, because the ball hasn't been zipping around like we saw last week, and hasn't been a huge amount of swing, a little bit of seam every now and again, but particularly since he's changed the ends, he's just bowled that kind of just outside off stump line to the right-handers, and he's saying to him, go on then, if you want to play the big drive, good luck. I've got 2 slips and a gully. He's got a ring field on the offside. He's yet to try any short stuff. I think he realises it's not that kind of wicket. He's just going to try and hang it out there and try and make the batsman come to him.
Here he comes again. Bowls, this time on the stumps as Butler defends back past the bowler to mid-on, who's running around to collect the ball. Now strides out towards square leg. Removes some dirt from his spikes. Just Butler. And Afridi circles at the top of his mark. Sets himself. Comes in on an angle. With pace, he bowls, angled into Joss Butler. On the top and middle stump, he defends back down the pitch once more.
It's like the kind of wicket that, you know, I think cutters and slow balls are going to be effective. It does look quite dry. I get the feeling that those kind of cutters will grip in the surface, so you could find probably by tomorrow that we'll have short mid-wicket, short extra covers, loads of cutters. Drive will become quite hard to play.
Butler taps his bat down, back and across. Taps the ball to the offside, off a good length. Signals to come down the track and take the single, but then is sent back by Zach Crawley at the end of the over. 150 for 4 then, still England. 48 overs have been bowled, a run rate of 3.13. England got away nicely earlier on. Yasir Shah came into the attack. Zach Crawley looked to play him well. Dom Sibley looked to be positive and aggressive against him. But he's come back after lunch. He's picked it up 2 wickets. And Pakistan right back in this game as Phil Tufnell is in for Michael Vaughan.
Afternoon, Ish. Afternoon, everyone. Yes. Yes, bowled up well, hasn't he? Bowled nice, hasn't he? He's got England playing off the back foot when they should be trying to come out to him.
As he bowls now, flighted, worked through mid-wicket. He will beat the man at mid-on. Shaheen Shah Afridi looking to try and stop the ball to his right and misses it. And now he dives on the boundary trying to pull it in, but it's in vain. Crawley will pick up 4.
Could have done himself a mischief there.
Yeah, walking back gingerly, he throws the ball in.
Yeah.
It's just his pride that's been hurt as he bends over.
What part of your body's that? Where's your pride located? Oh, he's done himself. Oh, he could have done himself. What's that when you is it pronate or something?
Oh,
when you
I'm not sure.
Go the other way on your knee.
Oh.
Yeah, that way. He's got a big
hyperextension.
Hyperextend. Well done. Hyperextend.
Yeah, his right leg has got caught on the boundary as he's almost slid through. Moisture in the outfield has You can see that mark down there at the moment as Yasir Shah comes through once more. This time Crawley drives to extra cover, no run. But he's moved to 82 in the meantime, 154 for 4.
Yeah, he's just started to realise that now, Zach Crawley, and some of the England players, that you've got to be careful to Yasir Shah. You've got to look to play him from the front foot.
Crawley deep into his crease and punching to cover.
And if you do play him off the back foot, try and play him with a straight bat and not a cross bat. That's where you get in trouble playing Yasir Shah, because he's got good trajectory and good mixes up of pace and tricks up his sleeve.
Shah with a towel hanging out the back of his trousers bowls. Crawley sweeps out to long leg, comes through for 1 and moves to 83, 155 for 4.
Is that the first sweep shot we've seen Zach Crawley play?
I think he might have tried it a little bit earlier.
He hasn't played many though.
Andy's nodding.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
So he had an inside edge onto his pad
right.
earlier on.
That's
He's only played a couple. That
Yeah.
obviously a bit of a change of tactic to play the leg spinner. He's weaved the spell beautifully though. He's got Pakistan right back into it.
Feisty character as Yasir Shah bowls to Butler, who's on his front foot, prodding out the ball to the offside.
Bouncy, isn't he? When you can see when
He's got something about him.
yeah, sort of jolly. He looks
Yeah.
jolly. You know what I mean?
Plays with a smile on his face.
Yeah, and he's sort of like whoom, whoom, and then fizz. Yeah, lovely.
I like that sound as Butler drives
Oh, that's a good
past
shot.
mid-off, slightly further outside the off stump. It almost feels like a bit of a swipe from Jos Butler as he plays it, but he knows as soon as it's coming down that it's a 4 ball, and he puts it away easily in the end. Moves to 16.
Yeah, a bit too much width, a bit too full. And the one good thing about Butler coming in against Shah here for England is that he won't just dry up, you know what I mean? He likes to put bat on ball against the spin. A good player of spin, aggressive player of spin bowling, sweeps, fine sweeps. You know, so as a spin bowler, you love having sort of 6 balls at one fella to sort of go through your variations and try and sort of work him out. But with Butler, always looking to put bat on ball and put the pressure back on the spinner.
Andy, I think there's been a nice contest between Yasir Shah and Jos Butler in this series as Shaheen Shah will resume from the pavilion end. Here he comes now, arms pumping, running towards us. He bowls. Short, Crawley pulls, it's in the air, but it falls safely past mid-wicket. Naseem Shah at mid-on, hustling to get to the ball and throw it in as they come back for 2. That was not timed at all, and Pakistan were interested. Crawley moves to 85, 161 for 4.
Yeah, that's the angle of the left armour going across you as a right-handed batsman. Usually very quick on the pull and quick on the hook, Crawley, but that one was always going away from him. It was short enough, but he had to really reach it outside the off stump, got the top edge. Oh, you don't want to sky one up in the air on 80-odd.
Bat angling towards second slip for Crawley as he taps his bat down, now on the back foot, looking to punch through to cover. Lack of bounce from Shaheen Shah Afridi outside the off stump, and catches the toe of the bat as it's hit into the ground, and Point comes in to take the ball.
Yasir Shah to Butler, 82 balls, 64 runs, 2 wickets.
So Butler's come hard at him, but he's been able to get him out a couple of times.
Yep.
Afridi still at the top of his mark. Shuffles forwards into his stride. Bowls to Crawley on the back foot and defending back to the bowler.
Also, I think his field wasn't right before lunch with those men.
Defensive.
Too defensive. And England could just go on the back foot, or, you know, and just push for 1s and 2s. The whole thing about being a spin bowler is trying to create the pressure, and he got England playing off the back foot to try and pierce that ring on the offside instead of just being able to prod one. So it then got in their mind, and that's the beauty of watching a good leg spinner or a good spin bowler, you know, at work, and when they get into their work, how they can just sort of like outthink batsmen a little bit.
Crawley forward press, then leaves the ball outside the off stump. A rising delivery from Shaheen Shah, angling across him.
And he was just getting knocked about for singles and 2s. There were too many open gaps, and it's a bit too easy just to rotate the strike. So when those men came in on that offside, England were actually having to try to force him through there off the back foot, and that's where you get in trouble.
It's a mindset thing, isn't it? Because I think for his first few overs, he was still going at 4s anyway. So
yeah, it was just
you kind of think, well, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. It was just too much, you know what I mean? But then it brought that man in from the deep cover boundary, and they just cut that single off.
Mid-wicket goes out to deep square, about 10 metres off the boundary, as Shaheen Shah approaches the crease now. Bowls short to Crawley, who ducks out the way of it, just dips down, allows it to pass over his right shoulder.
Yeah, always tricky to pull the left armour. It's got to be more sort of like armpitty or sort of chest. You know, anything that starts getting outside there, sort of like going across you and wide of off stump, very difficult to kind of bring it round to the leg side. With the man out there now, it could be a bit of a ploy for Pakistan.
Shaheen Shah. Here he comes again. Bowls to Crawley off the back foot. He guides that to mid-off at the end of the over with a high elbow. 161 for 4. Crawley on 85. Butler on 16. How often did you use the pull shot in out in the middle and in the nets? How often were the quickies bowling short to you?
Well, they've virtually bowled all the time short to me, you know. So
you got used to it?
Yeah,
or just ducking and weaving out the way?
I really sort of ducked and weaved. I kept it in the locker myself. Yes, I kept it in the locker. I didn't want to, you know.
Did you ever get it away? Was there any time you managed to get hold of one and you...
Many times.
Yeah?
Yeah. Top score, 52, I think it was. Yeah.
And your best time facing a quick bowler in the middle?
Best time, probably Jacques Callis at Newlands, at Cape Town.
As Yasir Shah comes in again to Butler, who's pushing to extra cover, no run, slightly fuller delivery.
It does get a little bit awkward when they start getting a little bit bigger, you know, and a little bit quicker, you know. Instead of just rocking onto that front foot and punching it through the covers, you know, you have to deal with
short balls off a length, a good length.
Yeah.
As Butler is off the back foot and cutting, it finds its way to extra cover, diving to his left. Shah Massoud in that position. Yasir Shah.
It wasn't really my shot, the hook and pull.
It's back at the top of his mark. Through his action. Butler on the back foot, punching in between extra cover and cover inside the circle. That will find its way to the boundary all along the floor. And punches gloves now with Zach Crawley as the score moves to 165 for 3 now. That was such an easy shot for Butler, getting deep into his crease, just pick his spot.
Yeah, see, and that's why I was talking about straight bat, wasn't it? Got in that nice position and then sort of hit it with a straight bat through the extra cover region instead of looking to try and chop it away. That's where England have allowed Shah back into the game a bit here.
And that man going out to the deep cover boundary now just wants that extra bit of protection. Yasir Shah after that 4.
Yeah, whether I like that.
As he comes in, back of the length again, Butler deep into his crease and guiding that to point. So a couple more balls left of this over. Butler has moved to 20. Taps his bat down, now crouches, advances and drives. Doesn't beat Yasir Shah, who's trying to take the ball with his left hand, parries it to extra cover.
I like the stride Joss Butler gets to Yasir Shah, though, when he does just pop one up above the eye line or just float one up there a little bit. It's not just sort of like a small step towards it. It really is a big lunge at it to get his foot to it and nullify the spin.
Shah bowls full and Butler defends with an angled bat to mid-on. At the end of the over then, 165 for 4. Crawley on 85, Butler on 20. A few more words from you, Phil. And then it will be Atif Nawaz.
Yeah, it's lovely seeing the leggy getting into his work. Really is playing around with the England's batsman. He's got in their head a little bit. after lunch. Different paces and tricks, different kinds of deliveries, but mainly the length he bowls. England not quite picking it up, or the England batsman not quite happy with where that length is happening to him. Been too many times playing full balls off the back foot at teeth.
Phil Tufnell, how are you?
Very well.
I'm really glad you padded away that nickname that Dan tried to put on me.
What was that?
Good.
Oh,
good.
Tiffers, yes, yeah, exactly. Sorry, it's completely gone.
No, that's good. That's
Yes.
good. I think it's dead and buried now. That's
Lovely.
That's good. I'm
Yes.
happy with that.
Good.
Well, 165 for 4. There's just a little delay as Yasir Shah's getting a jumper. There's a few bits and bobs floating around. It's taking him a very long time to put a jumper on, I have to say. There we go. He's got it on finally. He's extra cover there. Get his cap on. Got Shaheen waiting for him. There we go. Shaheen's at the top of his run. Nice open stance from Crawley. He's on 85 from 148. He awaits. Shaheen Shah Afridi, who comes in and bowls a full delivery on the pads. It's been flicked away to that fielder patrolling in the leg side. They take a single.
I think he put his head through an armhole instead of the neck hole.
But there was quite a lengthy discussion in between the overs between the two umpires and Yasir Shah and the Pakistan captain Azhar Ali, so I'm quite sure what it was about. It did look slightly like a boy being told off by teachers, but I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure.
Because he
what
does
for.
occasionally get in the old danger area, doesn't he? He has been warned a few times and he's followed through. Perhaps it was that, or perhaps he was, I don't know, caught nicking sweets out the tuck shop.
Shaheen Shah Afridi once again coming up with the second delivery of his 12th over. Now short and weaved out the way by Butler there as the ball goes through to the keeper about chest height. Some short stuff. Do you like the short stuff, Tuff?
Yes, I do. The man out there for the cover as well. Not particularly swinging so much more now, so he's got his slips and his offside region with that angle going across the right-hander, and then occasionally just looks to pop one in short and got cover there as well. So, yeah, I like this field to him and the way he's bowling as well. Just trying to, if anything, look for that outside edge, not the ball that's come swinging back in to get hit on the pads, but then also quick enough to get one round the schnoz.
Yeah. A lot of pace from Shaheen Shah Afridi, late 80s, early 90s from him. Two slips still in place. He comes in and bowls a fuller delivery this time, which just worked off the pads by Butler. They'll run through for a leg by, looking for that tap on the leg. Yes, there it is. It is indeed a leg by.
First extra of the innings.
Really?
Finally, the drought is broken in the 52nd over. The first extra of an innings has been scored in a test innings in England at least since 2001 when the records are available.
Outstanding. Well, a very disciplined performance this from Pakistan. We did notice a few sort of no balls and even a couple of wides in that first test, so it was good to see a bit of disciplined performance. Waqar Yunus will be pleased with that one.
Very good.
Bowling coach. In comes Shaheen Shah Afridi once again, just short again, pulled uppishly but on the bounce, and there's a sliding stop in the deep there by Ali in the deep, and they'll take a single.
Tall man, Crawley, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a
Tall man. He seemed in control with that. It's when it starts, as I was saying to Isha, when it starts getting a little bit too wide on you, you can get that top edge, but very well controlled there.
Yep, eyes on it all the way through. Wasn't it? Yeah.
And just rolled those wrists over it, lovely. But I mean, the trap has been set. Surprised Crawley taking it on, but if he's seeing it well, you know, and he's a good player of the shot, I suppose he's thinking, well, I can get some runs there.
Joss Butler on strike now as Shaheen comes in and bowls a late delivery this time, and there's a late appeal. There's a big appeal now. Everybody's joined in. There was a bit of a delay in the joining in. The ball just sort of left the batsman. Didn't seem to get anywhere near the edge, and Azhar Ali's contemplating taking the review. Rizwan says he's not sure, and they've gone for it. They've reviewed
TV
that decision.
to director, we have a player review for caught behind. It's a fair delivery. We can move on to front on spin vision, please.
Well, it was one of those ones that he sort of played at and then withdrew the bat, so I can't see the sunset.
Okay, I'm going to need ultra edge when available, please.
Looked like
Just
daylight.
keep that rolling through. Keep it rolling through, please. Clear gap between bat and ball. Keep it. Thank you. Going to go back to Richard on field, please.
Not a great review, that.
Illy, clear gap between bat and ball. You can save your original decision. You're on camera now.
Yep, not out indeed. It stays. There was a big gap between bat bat and ball there, and kind of a wasted review there from Pakistan. Almost a little bit of frustration there, but the indecision, that reaction gave it away, really, didn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose it's difficult because it's blowing so hard out there that you think you're hearing nicks when you don't hear nicks, and you know, because the sound is just whooshed away on this massive wind, you know. So if you think he's got anywhere near it, you may as well have a little dart at it, I suppose.
A different approach to the reviews nowadays. They used to really just be there for the howlers, didn't they?
Yeah.
In comes Shaheen Afridi now once again, and short stuff to Butler. He ducks underneath it and goes through the keeper for no run. 168 for 4 after 52 overs. A little bit earlier today, Pakistan announced their 17-man squad for the T20 series, and a lot of players in this game will be involved with that as well. Babar Azam will be captain, of course, world number 1. And then we have Fakhr Zaman, Haider Ali, who's a very exciting young player from Multan. Haris Rauf, who did so well in the Big Bash over the winter. Iftikhar Ahmed, very exciting batsman. 29 years old, 8 T20s and an average of 55 for him, so he'll be good to see. Imad Wasim, who's been very, very successful for Pakistan up the top. Hushdil Shah, who Azhar Mahmood is a big fan on, and we'll see more of. Mohammad Hafiz, the experienced campaigner. Mohammad Hasnan, the tall fast bowler. Mohammad Rizwan, who's playing here, the wicketkeeper. Mohammad Amir, Naseem Shah, Sarfraz Ahmed, Shadab Khan, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Shoaib Malik, and Wahab Riaz.
Shoaib Malik still having a go.
Shoaib Malik still having a go, yes, very much so.
How old Shoaib nowadays?
I think he's 36.
Oh, he's been around for years.
Yeah, he did start very young, and
did he?
he's in good shape. He looks after himself.
Oh, well, I'm sure he does. Yeah, but I've heard that name a lot over the years about me watching cricket. Shoaib Malik.
Well, here's somebody you haven't seen much of in this series, and he's going to get a bowl now. It's Fawad Alam coming on to bowl. He's for the first time in this Test series, and for the first time in 10 years, I guess we could say.
What does he do?
Well, we're about to find out.
Left arm spinner. Oh, left arm spinner.
Indeed.
Lovely.
There we go. One slip for Fawad Alam as he comes in and bowls from wide of the crease, a little bit flat, darted in and pushed to the onside for no run. What do you make of his first ball, Tuffers?
It looks all right. Got it down the other end. It bounced, which is good.
He's
made him play.
He's got 50 first-class wickets to his name. So.
Yeah, looked all right. Bowls from wide of the crease, by the looks of things. Decent pace. Wouldn't mind having a man in there.
He's got a slip and some protection in the deep. He's got a deep backward square leg, a squarish deep mid-wicket, long off, and a man sweeping in the covers. So he's got plenty of protection.
Yeah.
And he comes wide of the crease again, angles that one in, and the ball's watchfully defended back to him by Crawley.
All right.
Yeah, he's all right, yeah.
That's all right.
A little bit of Sanath Jayasuriya about him, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit of Jadeja as well, perhaps.
In comes Fawad Alam once again, just on a decent length and defended.
Get one in there.
Into the onside for no run, 168 for 4.
He looks like a bit of a skidder, so it might be worth having... Yeah, he's a bit of a sort of a cross-seamer, not a lot of dip, but gets good pace. You might want to have a little short leg in there if it just skips on, inside edge, bat pad.
Another false start. That wind is really...
shocker, isn't it?
It's just affecting a lot of the bowlers, really. So Fawad wisely just pulls out. In he comes again now. And he bowls a flatted delivery. He's been swept. There's a big appeal for LBW, but they seem to get outside the line of leg stump pretty quickly. It's just gone quite fine, and it's been chased down. They take 2 leg byes.
Well, I suppose it's just to give Yasir a little bit of a break. You can't just be wound up, even if you're bowling spin, just left to go because the fingers get a bit tired. The mind gets a bit tired as well, actually. You know, when you're, always constructing overs in your head, thinking about how to get players out, you do need a little break.
Well, he's got that now with Fawad Alam again, back of a length this time, worked into the leg side. They'll take the first one quickly. They want the second. They're going to get back comfortably in the end. A little bit slow to the mark there. Abid Ali in the deep and easy 2.
No seamers fancy to go this end.
Well, I mean, you said Azhar Ali, who we think of as like a part-time leggy, he bowled an absolutely beautiful off-cutter to finish off the last game. I don't know if you remember on day 5, last ball of the game. In comes Fawad once again, full and swept. Nice and fine, and the fielder from Final will get there. Yep, it'll prevent anything more than the single.
Might just be relaxing the pressure here a bit. I know it's just before tea.
Yeah.
But, Pakistan have really hauled themselves back into this game, and you just don't want a little, and especially someone like Crawley, just to get himself that nearer his maiden first 100 for England. So might just be a bit of a relaxing pressure
He's on 90 now, Zach Crawley. He's played so well today. He's got some support from Josh Butler as well on 20. Pope, the last man to go for 3. Beautiful ball. Yeah, just got straight through.
Slider. The
slider, that's the one.
Yeah, lovely bit of bowling, neck and crop. Did him like that in the first dig as well.
He did indeed.
Second test, yeah.
173 for 4 England. They've got a good rate today, 3.26, 53 overs played. And Shaheen is going to continue from the far side.
But you'd still think that Pakistan will be relatively happy. You know, they'll be thinking, a couple of quick ones here.
In comes Shaheen, this time veering onto the pads and just worked away by Crawley for an easy single into the deep on the leg side.
I think it's too easy, that.
It's just at this point he's seeing it so well.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing very well a little bit earlier, Shaheen, with a slightly newer ball, I suppose, but he was landing it on that length outside off stump, just in that kind of uncertain area, teasing him, and he even drew a few false strokes, but they haven't persevered with that line, Pakistan, for long enough for me.
No, I agree with you. He was nice. He did it nicely just before lunch as well. Just bowled it outside that off stump and across Crawley. Had him stuck on 49 for about 30 balls, didn't he, or something?
Quite a while. In comes Shaheen once again, and this time the ball's pushed to mid-off for no run. He's coming around the wicket as well to the right-hander.
See, I think he looks he's a very talented, good bowler, but I like it when he just runs up and just ploughs that furrow just outside the off stump, the odd one swinging back, but then just running it across the right-hander. I like that. I don't know, he doesn't... You're right, for my mind, he doesn't stay on that line for long enough. He's always looking to try something and then gets the odd 1 or 2 or the boundary away. Sometimes it's best just to sort of
Shaheen in once again full and driven beautifully. A gorgeous stroke that from Josh Butler. It's racing away towards the boundary. Will it get there? There's a man in pursuit, and he gets there in the end. It's very slow outfield over towards our far side, but they will take 3. So beautiful shot that from Butler as well. Just waited on it and leaned into it.
Yeah, and it just seemed a little bit too easy. Now that from over the wicket, that's just threatening that outside edge if Josh Butler wants to hit him through extra cover. Yeah, he's had enough of it. I thought so. Yeah, come back over the wicket.
That brought up the 50 partnership as well. That 50 off 87 balls, with 24 of them coming from Zach Crawley, and the remainder from Josh Butler. Crawley on 91 on strike now, 177 for 4.
Nervous 90s.
Shaheen back over the wicket now as he comes in and bowls, and good length delivery. Crawley all the way behind that, but that's kind of the length we're looking at, aren't we?
That's what we want sometimes on slow pitches. That's if you've just got to plug away a little bit. And I know that Pakistan seeing bowlers, they're always looking for opportunities, reverse swing and Yorkers and things like that. But sometimes in English conditions, you've just got to book in for bed and breakfast on that line, on that length, just outside off stump, and and put pressure on the batsman.
Absolutely. Now then, Zach Crawley on strike. In comes Shaheen Afridi, short and pulled into the gap between the backward square leg. There's a backward square leg and there's a more forward square leg as well. And he managed to pierce the gap between the two. Neither of them made any effort to get there because that ball was racing away into the boundary. 4 runs. He moves on to 95 not out now. Zach Crawley's played absolutely brilliantly today. Watch that ball all the way onto the bat in complete control.
Yeah, beautiful shot. Beautiful shot. They've just gone to sleep here a bit, Pakistan. For my mind, had a great session, but then just coming towards the end of it, they're just sort of a bit too loose, a little bit too muddled in the thinking. You just want to keep things tight, get to tea, put your feet up, have a cup of tea, and sort of reevaluate things.
Shaheen, and once again a short delivery, again relatively comfortable. Crawley, they're just ducking inside the line of that. A bit of a stare down as well from Shaheen Shafridi, 181 for 4. After 54 overs, England doing a bit of a job today on Pakistan. In control, I would say. 181 for 4 in these conditions, and you expect conditions to get a little bit more difficult. They've done very well.
Yeah, I mean, they've had good spells, though, Pakistan, and then they've just had little spells where they've just, wandered off a bit, if you know what I mean, and they're having one here now. Perhaps Fawad coming on just relaxes, just takes the pressure off a little. They've built such lovely pressure with those 2 quick wickets by the leggy Yasir in the middle part of the session, and now just relaxed. It's just relaxed a little bit. You've got to finish. You've got to start and finish session strong.
Indeed. Well, there's about 5 minutes or so to go till the end of this session, and Fawad in now, he's going to continue. Still got the slip in place. He comes in wide of the crease and bowls a length ball, defended back to him by Jos Butler. Collected cleanly. You do just get the sense that Pakistan are sort of almost going through the motions in this phase.
Just waiting to get the tea.
Yeah.
So everyone can have a little bit of a breather.
In comes Fawad once again. Flights one up a little bit and played nicely off the face of the bat, guided into that third man region. It didn't get too far away, but they did get the single. And Butler moves on to 24. Crawley on 95. He's got about 4.5 minutes to get to his ton before tea.
He'll never have a better opportunity against Fawad. You don't want to relax too much, but I mean, there's plenty of gaps. Runs there for the taking.
In comes Fawad Alam once again, a little bit short this time and driven down the ground by Crawley to the fielder at long off. It is Shaheen.
You don't want him to get to his 100 just by picking off ones, you know what I mean? You've got to create some pressure and say, well, if you want to get to your first 100, at least you've got to come down the wicket and try and hit over the top or something. It's a little bit too simple at the moment.
In comes Fawad once again, fuller delivery, defended by Jos Butler. No run. They put a lot of pressure on Zach Crawley when he was on 49. So
that was it. Yes, well, that was a lovely little spell by Shaheen, wasn't it? Say, just don't leave there. Don't leave there. Patience.
Fawad in now once again, a little bit fuller, and this time worked into the onside for no run. He gets through him quickly though. Fawad, they might squeeze a couple of overs in here depending on how quickly.
Yeah, it's handy for the
Shaheen
over,
does
right?
the next one. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe perhaps that's why he's on right now. Not too much of a run up, a few steps and just lets it go, and he comes once again and on a good length again. Firmly behind that in defence is Jos Butler. It completes the over, a tidy, uneventful one. 183 for fourth, England.
You're right. You're right. Tidy but uneventful. Just a little bit too, a couple of 3 runs off it. No real pressure. As you say, perhaps it's been a tricky day to bowl. Oh, yes, he is having to go the other end.
There we go.
Oh, let's have a little look, see what he does with the wind.
There was some suggestion on the Cricinfo text commentary that the umpires had a word with Yas after he might have applied saliva to the ball. No confirmation of that, but that's what they were suggesting.
I suppose it's a force of habit for so many players, right? It's hard to just break it.
I'm surprised.
It's taken this long.
Yeah. It's just, well, as all us cricketers know, you get the ball, you lick your thumb, put a bit on the shiny side. I'm surprised it's only happened once or twice. I think Dom Sibley was the first one, which I'm sure will come up in Question of Sport, so I've marked that down. Yes.
Well, Yasir Shah now in back to try and get in on the action. Probably the last over before tea. He starts with a full delivery, defended up on the crease by Crawley. He's on 96 not out. There's a slip in place, there's a fielder sweeping in the covers, there's a deep backward square leg, and there's a long off. So those are the deep set fielders. Crawley one blow away from his century. He's worked really hard to get to 96. Can he be a little bit more patient? In comes Yasir Shah once again, floats one in again.
Oh, there again.
Defended into the onside, no run.
That's a full ball. He's good at this, Yasir Shah. He gets people playing off the back foot to full deliveries. I mean, that was very, very full. If that's the googling or the flipper or something, that's through you.
And he comes once again, Yasir Shah floats one up and just defended behind point for no run.
Would you have a little run down? Would you have a little run down at him and try and bop him straight back over his head to get your 100?
On 96? I think I'd rather sit nervously through my tea, to be honest with you, and just wait till the evening session.
Yeah, perhaps.
96 off 164. He's played so well. In comes Yasir Shah, a little bit short that time, and driven down the ground to the fielder at long off. They'll take a single. So you suspect that should be his job done up until tea. 2 deliveries to come. He's on 97 not out, Crawley, and Jos Butler on strike. He's on 24. Yasir Shah just taking his time, a little bit of mind games as well. He's a seasoned campaigner as well. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Taking his time.
It's bowled nicely.
In he comes, and a lot of flight given, and just defended on the front foot by Butler into the onside, no run. 184 for 4 with the 1 delivery to come. The noise has died down from the Pakistanis as well a little bit. They're so noisy all the way through, but it's just gone a bit quiet, really,
Well,
hasn't it?
it buffets you, the old wind, when you're out there. It's difficult. It
Yes,
really is.
again.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay. Defended and back to the bowler. No run, 184 for 4, and that is tea. So England will be very, very pleased with that session. They lost a few wickets, but in complete control of this game at 184 for 4 in that session. 93 runs scored from 28 overs. Andy, tell us about that run of play.
Well, 91 for 2 in the first session of 28, 93 for 2 of 28 in the second session. So it's been another very well contested, balanced session of play. Crawley 97 off 165.